So, since the release and the continuous updates to the Forest PC game that was eventually brought over to PS4, there has been a big question and bit of confusion from people in the community that was brought to my attention in my The Forest Full Story Explained video. So, today I wanted to do a video indicating the differences between the mutants and the cannibals in the forest. Is there a difference? And if so, what are these? So that's what the next two videos in my channel will be focusing on and highlighting. And yes, there are actually two separate factions, and yes, there are many ways to tell them apart. So in this video, we'll be discussing the cannibals of the island / peninsula, because I gained quite a lot of hate for literally saying the word island instead of peninsula in the last video. So for starters, let's look at the different types of human cannibals on the island. The cannibals take up a fair percentage of the population of the island and can be found scattered and few and far between at times. They are able to blend in with the mutants of the island, and they achieve this through their use of the paints and muds found on the peninsula, that for some reason when worn allow the cannibals to no longer draw the attention of the mutants. This is why the mutants attack the player. However, if you are able to find red paint during your travels on the peninsula, you will be able to pick it up and put it on yourself and use a same camouflaging trait as the cannibals. This all goes to suggest that the cannibals have a much higher cognitive ability compared to that of the mutants, as seen through their use of survival tactics. So any creature that is painted with the paint or muds is a cannibal, attempting to blend in with its surroundings or become camouflaged in with the mutants. This theory can be put to the test by luring a cannibal to the water. There the water will wash off the paint or mud, and you will notice that if there are mutants in the area, they can become hostile to this now uncovered cannibal. There are many different types of cannibals, and they can be discovered around the peninsula and appear usually with scarce clothing and sometimes even tools and weapons, as well as jewelry in the form of human bones mostly, but it can also include CDs and DVDs. Some of them even use flashlights that they attach to themselves and use them to navigate the dark nights and cave systems. These facts are one way to tell that the mutants and cannibals are separate entities. So the cannibals wear clothing and produce tools while the mutants do not. As well, the cannibals, being human, still possess genitals and nipples, whilst the mutants, bar the females, who sometimes can still retain their nipples, are absent of any reproductive organs. There exist both male and female cannibals on the island, and the males are generally more prominent around the peninsula and can be found far more often. The female cannibal population are not seen utilising weapons or tools at all, and this could be some sort of cultural practice for the cannibals. However, that does not stop the females from participating in fights in which they use their bare hands. Aside from the gender separation, the cannibals seem to have a basic class system that controls and governs the groups that roam around the peninsula in search of prey. There are a variety of cannibals that wear varying amounts of clothing and jewelry, as well as tribal paints and head crests / caps. It seems that the more and more items a cannibal has strapped to its body will determine its authority over its subordinates. So those with little items are the lower class, whilst those sporting excess amounts of items and tribal pieces, as well as clothing, tend to have somewhat of more control over the others, leading them around the peninsula into fights and hunts. Another thing that supports that the leader cannibals hold a higher importance in their society is that during their travels, when encountering the player Eric, or when fighting other hostiles, their followers will attack first and even sacrifice themselves whilst keeping the player from reaching the leader for as long as possible. As previously stated, the cannibals of the Peninsula paint themselves in order to hide from the mutants in a form of camouflage. But aside from this, there seems to be a cultural significance to the cannibals to a certain point. One example is the group of cannibals that paint themselves white with black crosses, which would seem to suggest a connection with religious or Christian religious iconography. These specific cannibals may have discovered the Christian missionary items, or even been surviving members of the missionaries that have resorted to dire means to survive over the generations, being stranded on the peninsula. Either way, these cannibals seem to hold a higher position in the cannibals' society, as they are usually and regularly accompanied by non-painted cannibals and other higher class cannibals, suggesting that they may be one of the highest class of cannibal. Aside from this cannibal type, we have another one of its followers known as the fire cannibal. This variant can be seen on its own or travelling with the white and cross-painted cannibals acting on their behalf. The fire cannibals usually carry with them a fire torch and several tennis balls, which they can light on fire and throw at their enemies at an extended distance. However, if it does come to fighting face to face, they will utilise their fire torches as a melee weapon against their opponents. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it enlightened everyone to the differences that separate the cannibals from the mutants of the forest, and also gave you some more insight into the culture and tribal nature of their quite primitive version of society. But last of all, what other videos would you guys like to see? If you did have any ideas or questions you would like answered, leave it down in the comments. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like and go check out Attack, Lore and Explained on Twitter and Discord. And if you wanted to support us further, you can become a patron on my Patreon page. I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.